Welcome to the Vinnie Jones Show. As usual, for all you footy fans, we've got a packed hour. Some laughs and giggles along the way. Have a put us at this lot.
Everton for the third time. How are you enjoying it?
Well, I'm enjoying it very much, apart from the results that we've had at the start of the season.
I'm Mary Parkinson, and today we're in London with Arsenal, Wimbledon and QPR fans. And Wimbledon, I mean, you are the scourge of the bigger clubs. You hang on in there against all the odds. I mean, how do you do it?
If you're a football fan, the voice you're about to hear will be all too familiar.
Obviously, they're all piss heads and we can't keep going for 90 minutes at least.
Had a couple of chances, that's good.
What's going wrong? Yeah!
If you won the lottery, maybe you would employ yourself a butler. There are now players in the Premiership that are trying to put that in their contracts. So I would just like to introduce Ivor Spencer, who is the top man in butlering. I might be the top man at Wimbledon. You're the top man in
You're
butlering.
definitely the top man in Wimbledon. I run a school for
The
butlers.
schools. But you have been a butler.
No, I haven't. I'm a professional Toastmaster. I've covered over 1,000 royal events, party planner, and many of the events for royalty I've actually organised. But I employ a butler. I run a school for butlers, and it's a very successful school.
And you're training them now. And do you say I said I want a butler?
I would send you some resumes,
Yes.
so you'd have a look at, and then you'd interview the people, and then they'd start working for you, and you'd be very, very delighted with them.
Would you say it's essential? Because Lombardo came over from Italy.
Right.
In his contract,
Yes.
apparently he wanted a butler.
Good idea.
See, everybody laughed at it.
No,
Why is it a good idea?
It's a good idea because if you're a busy man like you are, he can concentrate on his business, on his family, and on his leisure time, and the butler will do everything else for him. Get his clothes ready, take messages, answer the door, go shopping, take him to the football ground, take him to meetings, bring him back. He could do a variety of things for him, which would leave Lombardo more time to what he does well, to play football.
So you're saying footballers should have.
If they can afford it, or if the club can afford it, I think it's a very good idea.
What sort of price range would you?
Well, the butler
because they'd have to live in, or
normally live in. The butler would get £25,000 a year, plus he would expect food and accommodation, but very good food and accommodation. Not that he's greedy, he's not, and a car for shopping, and a day and a half off a week, 2 weeks holiday a year. But the hours could be flexible. So if he had a day and a half off coming this week, but you wanted him to work, or Lombardo wanted him to work, he would say, certainly, Mr. Lombardo, I'll work.
And does he work from, I suppose, the start of the boss's day, I suppose?
Absolutely. He gets
until
up
he finishes? Or?
Of course, absolutely. Some days are very long, and other days it could be very short. Whatever Mr. Lombardo wants, or what you want, he would do.
So what do people do? Just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I want to be a butler."
Yes,
for 25 grand a year, that don't sound a bad job.
Yes, but not everybody can do it. And in fact, Vinnie, after 2 days, we often ask people to leave the course and give them their feedback because they're not suitable. We want a person that's not pompous, not snobbish, anticipates everything, and puts the employers first before their own family.
And do they have to speak the Queen's English?
Yes, but we don't take accents away. If they've got an accent, providing you can understand it, we ask them to keep their accent. But you've naturally got to speak clearly. Otherwise, you'd say to people, this is on the menu today, so they wouldn't understand you.
Well, I know that you are from the East End.
That's right.
But you don't sound like you're from the East End.
Well, that's right. My brother's a Cockney, and he sounds like it. But I think over the years, as a professional Toastmaster and listening to all the top people, it's rubbed off on me. And now I'm speaking, but still with a London accent.
So who have you waited on? Who have you?
Well,
I know you did Lady Diana, haven't you?
Well,
You spent a lot of time with her.
Yes, in fact, I was very pleased when the Princess asked me to officiate at her brother's wedding, Howard Spencer's at Althorpe. I'd met her many times on functions. She often stopped a car for me in London, And she was a lovely person, and naturally all of us were very, very sorry. And she wrote me some very nice letters. One letter she wrote to say, "Dear Ivor, I certainly miss you at functions. It's not the same without you." And I'm very proud of that. I do care. The most important thing when I go out, or my butlers go out, is to serve these people and to be low-key. They're the stars. The host, the bride, the bridegroom, the employers, they're the stars. We keep in the background.
You asked your wife if you could have your own butler.
That's right. Well, without being boastful, we bought the house next door in Dulwich, so we've got 2 houses in one, and I have some very nice clothes, and we're busy people. I said to my wife, Estella, we can afford a butler, let's have a butler. And she said, certainly not. First of all, it's too grand for us, because she came from the East End too, Vinnie. Yeah. And the other thing is, what would the neighbours say?
That's what she said.
So we haven't got a butler, unfortunately.
So what? You must have some funny stories,
well,
without mentioning any names.
Yes, we wouldn't mention names, but there is a golfer we work for, a very famous golfer, and we answer the phone, like if I was your butler, I would answer the phone, either the Jones or the Vinnie Jones. The phone goes, "Good morning, the Vinnie Jones residence, Spencer the butler speaking, may I help you?" But this golfer asked me to tell the butler that in future he would answer the name of the, so say for instance his name is Lee, it's not, "Good morning, the Lee residence, Spencer the butler speaking, may I help you?" He said, "I want him to answer the assistant butler speaking," but there's no assistant.
That's superb. That is superb, yeah.
But I'm not going to mention the name of the golfer.
No, right. But you're still, people think you're retired, but you're not. You're actually still working very hard, aren't you?
As a professional Toastmaster, I'm as busy as ever, and I'll never retire, and I still run the school for butlers. And we supply butlers to the royals, heads of state, embassies, and mostly for movie stars, very big business people, and I'm hoping Vinnie Jones.
Or Lombardo.
Or
I'm
Lombardo.
not on his wages.
Or Lombardo.
I'm not on
well,
his...
Steve told me, your manager, that you get higher pay than he does.
Yeah. So I've got a little surprise for you in store anyway. We have got a Premier League footballer with us today here at Henlow Grange.
Right.
So I wondered if you could wait on him for about an hour.
Pleasure. Has he got the money?
We'll soon find out.
If I'm not working, I'm boozing. You know, that's the way it is.
But now you're going. You say you're going for a drink now. Will that last for about 3 days?
I should imagine so, yeah.
Does your wife know?
She doesn't know yet. She doesn't know yet that I'm going on. She'll know about 10 o'clock when I don't take supper in. She'll know then. And then she'll probably go in a shell for about 3 days. Won't talk to me. And then when I'm coming down off the bay, then she starts on me then. But when I get it all then. That's probably the worst part about coming down off the booze, is the missus nagging you in the ear hole.
I know when it gets to like 10:30, 11:15, if he hasn't come home on a break, then I know he's in the pub. So it's just a case of, oh, good night. I go to bed and just leave him to it.
What's he like with his hangovers? Is he terrible to suffer, or do you just leave him in peace?
And just leave him.
I get on the couch.
He gets on the settee and that's it.
I don't argue. I listen. Because I know I've done wrong. I know I'm in the wrong when I've been out for 3 days. So I'll just listen.
Well, I'm praying on a rain in California.
How'd you put up with him?
With great difficulty. I need a medal.
Where is everyone then?
Can't get the team out.
What's happened?
A few of the lads are banned. Just a waste of time. There's 7 of us there is. There's no point in us playing.
Unicorn will be here.
Yeah, but Salford Snooker haven't got a team.
You joke. We needed you to beat them today. Can't believe it.
It's 11 o'clock now. We'll get fined for a late kick-off for a start. Got to get the nets together.
Always look on the good side. Liverpool got beat today.
I know.
Jürgen.
So we'll put a letter into the league again.
Yeah, fill a match card in with your team.
Yeah.
And send it off.
No problem.
Good start.
Not soon enough.
Get a team.
Well, they've all phoned in the working. Margie, Peter, Craig,
and the players we had banned, we couldn't play anyway, so we haven't got a team. So we have to give them the game.
But even if they turn up with 9 or something like that, you're not going to bother playing?
Not really, because I want to win the league. You know what I mean? Say one of my good players gets an injury. It's not worth it, is it? All the players are all dispersed now and all that.
So what's going to happen now? Where are you all going now?
Oh, they're all on here somewhere to just watch a couple of games, and then it's all back to the boozer. Watch the match.
These things happen. That's Sunday football. He's done his utmost, he's informed everybody, so there's no incurred cost anywhere, so he's done everything he can. He's done an excellent job. Informing the opposition and everything.
I just have to pay you now, don't I, for turning
No,
up?
no, I don't want a fee. If I don't referee, I don't charge. No,
I've not brought the match.
Not that mercenary.
I'm Mary Parkinson, and today we're in London with Arsenal, Wimbledon and QPR fans. And Wimbledon, I mean, you are the scourge of the bigger clubs. You hang on in there against all the odds. I mean, how do you do it?
Good scouting system.
Good scouting system, good manager?
Good manager, buying good players from lower leagues. And
good youth team?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, not at the moment, but we did have a good reserve team, but yeah, there was a good youth team.
Because a lot of your players have come through the ranks. I mean, that's the one thing you have in... Well, it's not the one thing, actually, you have in common with Manchester United. You have many things in common with Manchester United, but that is one of the main things you have in common, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we had 8 players in the youth team from one team last year. I think it's a Premiership record, that's great.
I mean, do you enjoy watching your team when they're...
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's not more sort of identity of the club. You know, you've got players who've come through, have been with us since they were at school, basically, and even players who used to support Wimbledon. Like Chris Perry, his dream was to play for Wimbledon. And he is. And it's hard for me to believe, you know, back when I was at school, he wouldn't have dreamt of playing for Wimbledon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Wimbledon were in the sort of Vauxhall Conference or something then, weren't they?
Southern League or, you know, 4th Division, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the thing though, Mary, the so-called bigger clubs aspire to be up there. Wimbledon are up there. They've been up there since, as you say, 86. And you've got your Evertons, your Tottenhams, who are...
way below at the moment.
Way below, consistently.
Yeah.
And they, you know, Wimbledon are...
Well, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Man City.
You've got your big 6,
even
supposedly
QPR.
big. QPR, well, QPR, they're far better at the moment. They are in the Premier League, we're not. So how are they a smaller club than the supposedly big 6 and even QPR?
The Norwegian guy said that by the end of by sort of 2 or 3 years' time, we have to be as big as Tottenham. I think that's no ambition at all.
No, let's start losing a few games actually to start getting to that stage. So
being more tight-fisted with the club's money as well.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, Wimbledon are pretty tight with their money. I mean, Joe is not giving...
They have to be. Yeah, he's given £5 million or £3 million to go and spend on players, and some players' wages at that in 2 years. We can't afford it. We can buy a player for £1 million and pay him £1 million over 5 years.
I mean, do you think you're going to be able to hang on to Kinnear and a lot of your good players?
I think we can. Yeah, Chris Perry's the only one I'm worried about.
You think he'll?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
He's English, so no other club will want him at the moment.
Arsenal
So
want
it's
him. That's the one good thing.
I think it's the one Wimbledon player Arsenal would buy.
Yeah.
Right position, intelligent
well,
brain.
Can there be a bigger compliment than that?
Great player.
Except they probably put an £8 million price tag on him at the moment. Which
he won't want to go because he's a Wimbledon fan. He said that he'd only go if he's sold. He'll never ask for a transfer unless it gets dropped.
But he is a great centre half, isn't he? I mean, he is really fabulous.
I think I'm not being biased. I mean, I like all our players, but I think Chris Perry is the best defender in the country. I wouldn't say that of many other players, but he's the best defender in the country.
That's a pretty big. That's a
he
pretty big statement
to make.
He never
makes a mistake. If someone can go through some videos of last season and spot Chris Perry mistake, I'd like to see it.
I did.
It's actually probably the only defenders who's consistently marked Fowler out of the game, marked Wright out of the game.
Yeah.
Marked... scored at Old Trafford.
Scored at Old Trafford.
Last night as well.
Marked Eric Cantona pretty well last season.
Yeah.
You know,
got booked twice in the season.
Yeah, got booked twice this season. That's some reasonable achievement. If that had been Adams, he'd have been off about 8 times. He might be just to the bar.
Is he suspended or injured at the moment?
He's suspended. He'd be available for Southampton game, unfortunately.
When's that, in February?
No, next week on Saturday.
I mean, you know, Wimbledon as well, you have this amazing record at Highbury. It's 10 seasons since Arsenal beat Wimbledon at Highbury. I mean, you just don't like playing them, do you?
Well, no,
we've got a pretty good record. We've got a pretty good record at Wimbledon. As I said earlier, the twice we won the league, we beat Wimbledon at their ground, first game of the season both times. So.
Well, you haven't started there this season, so
we haven't. So
thank God.
Signs aren't good.
But it's the same with Chelsea. I mean, we can thrash Chelsea at Highbury any time we like it, but we've won once at Stamford Bridge in 26 years, and that was last season. You know, so there are clubs you have sort of like hoodoos.
Your bogey team. I mean,
Yeah.
we have Chelsea at Old Trafford. We've beaten them something like once in 26 years.
The Wimbledon result, like everybody said last season, the reason you didn't finish second was because you couldn't beat United and Liverpool. That actually is rubbish. The reason we couldn't finish second or had a chance to win the league last year is because we dropped points to Wimbledon. We couldn't beat teams like Coventry, and we basically kept some of the crap at the bottom of the division up. Which, you know, that did no favours to poor like QPR and people trying to get up. People like Coventry, every season it's the same. They're struggling down the bottom. They've got no aspirations of ever winning anything. All they ever set out to do is to stop getting relegated.
Do you think we should cut the Premiership? I mean, you know, you're a team that's aspiring to get into the Premiership. Do you think we should cut the Premiership to 18?
No, I don't think it should cut the Premiership. I think do away with the playoffs. I can't see the basis of a team like Palace finishing 6th, getting up and playing with the big boys in the Premiership. I can't see how that works.
Just scrap the Coca-Cola Cup, the playoffs.
Football league clubs. We've got Premier League clubs have to apply separately, don't they, to get into the cup? What's the point? Yeah. It's extra. I mean, Ferguson complains about the extra games, but it still applies to the.
It's still
Coca-Cola
I
Cup.
think you have to look more than that. It's not just about club interest. I mean, this year at the end of the season, we're going to be playing in the World Cup in France, hopefully.
Yeah.
And Glenn Hoddle would like to take the best 30 players he can take out there, completely fit and not knackered.
Yeah.
You contrast the state the English players are going to be in what the Italian team physical
Yeah.
state they're going to be in. David Platt, when he came back from Sampdoria, said that he halfway through the season he had it.
Yeah.
He just could not handle it. And the problem is that we play too many games. And if you look at, say, Arsenal or Newcastle, any of the English teams in Europe this year, any of them get to the final of that competition, have a good cup run at home and do well in the league, they're going to end up playing 70-odd games.
Yeah.
I was playing that years ago. I can't abide with this when you say about cut the games. When as soon as you cut the games, you bring the Umbro Cup in 2 or 3 years ago. They're going Far Eastern Tours as United have done, whatever. It's no good saying cut the
That's
games.
up to the FA to stop clubs doing that.
But
You've got to cut the games.
They can't stop teams. You can't stop teams.
I can say to them, fine, you do that. You're not going to get any leeway over suspensions, anything else. You can penalise clubs for doing it. The fact is, at the end of the day, is clubs know they've got to pay what wages they've got to pay. And if they know at the beginning of the season that they're only going to be playing X games, and at the end of it, that's what they're going to get out of it, then they have to budget for it. They're running a business.
Why do you think they're going Far Eastern Tours? To pay for them wages in the first place.
No,
That's exactly why.
I mean, that is 50 games in a season and travel to Hong Kong.
You don't go to the Far East just for the joy of it.
No, we go there to promote our merchandising side.
And get some money in,
Yeah.
regardless
Yeah.
of the fact. So you're doing it for money.
Yeah.
And no matter what you say, cut the Coca-Cola Cup as United have done in the past few seasons, put a reserve side out to a certain degree. You do that for money. It's purely monetary purposes.
I mean, do you think that? I mean, as QPR fans, you're now playing 46 games in your division now.
Right.
I mean, that's 8
And
games
that's all,
more
'cause
than.
we're at both the cups, so it's quite easy.
No, I mean, there's
before
40,
you even started. So
yeah,
it's,
I mean, there's 46 games in the division before you've even started with the cups and everything else. And playoffs is an extra 2 games. I mean, that's 8 games. I mean, we only play 38 in the Premiership now.
Stockport played 68 games last
Yeah,
season. One of their
and
players
still
played
managed to
them all.
get promoted.
Yeah, he played all 68 games. That's incredible.
Who did?
Mike Flynn played all 68 games for
Yeah,
Stockport.
but I mean, to be honest, what's more important to English football fans is it keeping the Coca-Cola Cup, or is it having a decent chance of winning the World Cup?
Never go back is an adage that applies to life in general, but even more so to the precarious world of football management. So what do you say about a man who goes back to the same club 3 times? Howard Kendall at Everton. Everton for the 3rd time. How are you enjoying it?
Well, I'm enjoying it very much, apart from the results that we've had at the start of the season. We haven't started as well as I'd have hoped. We had 3 home games on the trot at home, which was a lot of pressure on the players and everyone to gain results, which we didn't get. We only got the 1 win. So it's not been the best of starts.
It's an old football adage, Howard, that you should never go back. Now, you're back at Everton for the 3rd time of asking. Did you have to think about that?
Well, I was very happy at Sheffield United and things were going well there, but at the same time, I think when you spend so many happy years as a player and And as a manager at Everton Football Club, the invitation was too great to turn down.
But doesn't that make you your own yardstick because of your achievements in the mid-80s?
Well, thankfully we can look back at the mid-80s and look at it and say, well, it was a tremendous period for Everton Football Club. The second time I came back, maybe I tried to do things a little bit too quickly, and I felt that the expectancy level from the 80s maybe heaped a little bit more pressure on the demands to be successful immediately. Made mistakes. This time, hopefully, we won't make as many.
Has football changed a lot in your time of your 3 periods at Everton?
Well, without a doubt, yeah. Yeah, I think it's more difficult to find the players, more difficult to find the quality that you would need at a big club to be successful.
What about the pressure of having Liverpool, one of the great achievers, down the road? Does that make a difference?
Well, it was no different when I came here in the 80s, really. Liverpool were the guy, the yardstick, really, for anyone because they'd been champions and they were one of the most successful clubs in the country. I did say at that particular time that the idea was to hopefully catch them and then overtake them, which we did for a period in the 80s. Now it's Man United. But at the same time, Liverpool have got a very, very good side. But Man United are the yardstick for anybody to try and catch up with.
But Everton is definitely one of those clubs, Howard, that are expected to achieve. If you're Southampton, if you're Coventry, and you stay in the Premiership, it's job well done. Everton, you know and I know, you've got to take them back to the pinnacle of English football before you're going to satisfy your fans, aren't you?
I think that the Everton public really will be possibly a little bit more patient because the record over the last 3-4 years when they've been down at the bottom of the table trying to battle for points to make sure they're not in the relegation area. I mean, even went to the last game on one occasion. I think that they realise there's a lot of work to do here.
Now, you've been here as a player as well as a manager. And again, we talk about football adages. They say there's nothing that compares to playing. Now, the side you played in wasn't a bad team, was it?
No, it wasn't bad, was it? No, I mean, the late 60s and the 1970 Championship side was a joy to play in. It was a great side, yeah, and I think it must have been the same for the players playing in the 80s.
But when you think back to those days when you could sling your boots on the back seat of the car and disappear, do you ever yearn for those days?
No, I'm just grateful that I'm in a job and involved in football at a club like Everton Football Club, which I'm delighted about. I mean, if you can't play, then the second best is to be involved in some capacity as a coach or a manager, and thankfully, well, I'm very grateful that I'm in that position.
Now, the current state of English football, Howard, if you go back even 5 years, the idea that you'd have Zolas and Ruud Hullits over here, are you surprised at how quickly that has happened, that so many foreign players have come into the game?
I think what has happened is I think the input from television, financial side of it, has changed dramatically, and we are able to attract the top players in Europe, which we couldn't do a few years ago.
Now, some people reckon it's a good thing, some reckon it's a bad thing. What do you reckon?
Oh, I think it's got to be a good thing. I think that if you can bring in that type of quality, then it's got to be good. It's got to be good for the club, for the Premier League. But I think it's when it's overrun with players, ordinary players really, that I think that then you start to worry a little. I would like to see a restriction on foreign players at each club.
Do you believe that young players can learn from the best foreigners though?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I mean, I think that youngsters do copy. They all have their heroes, and they all supposedly want to become one of them. And I think that it can do nothing but good.
Now, you've been a manager or involved in football management for a long time now. Do you ever see a point where you think, nah, I think enough's enough, I think I'll jack this in and go and play golf?
Well, I can't play golf very well. So I suppose I've been very lucky because I think when you're out of football for a while or a period of time, then your handicap goes down. So I've still got a 21.5 handicap, so I'm very fortunate.
Is there a job in football that could ever tempt you away from Everton now?
If you're a football fan, the voice you're about to hear will be all too familiar. We've come along today to meet the man behind the voice. It is, of course, Jonathan Pearce.
Gascoigne brushes beyond Seedorf. Gazza here. Gazza pulls it back. Sheringham Square. Shearer! Alan Shearer! It was magnificent! England 3,
Jonathan, you started off your career as a trainee footballer yourself. Sadly, it was cut short through injury. Can you tell us what happened?
I was playing football when I was 15 years of age, and a bloke who's about 6'4" and 18 stone decided to go over the top and broke my leg in 2 places, and I was 16 weeks in plaster, and then the doctor said that it wouldn't stand up to playing professional football, and I don't think I'd have been good enough anyway because I didn't have any pace. And
was it a blow though at the time when it happened?
Oh, devastating. I didn't, I went upstairs when the letter came through. I went upstairs and cried for about a day and a half. My mum said, "I told you so, you were never good enough," which is quite supportive. And my dad, who worked in football, didn't speak to me for about a week because that's all he wanted me to do, So, but in a way, it was beneficial because I could then concentrate on other things. And
yeah, I mean, did that make you think, well, I can't play football? Is that where you got your love of becoming commentator?
Yeah, I went upstairs into my bedroom, locked myself in, got my Subbuteo table out, played Subbuteo non-stop for about 3 weeks and commentated with me winning all the time because I was playing against myself. And then that's the way it started, really. And then the local radio station advertised for a job and Bristol City put me up for the job. And that's how I got in covering their matches.
So what do you think makes a good commentator?
I think there are many good commentators around, with different styles. The way that I try and do it is I just try and be what I am with a microphone, which is a football fan. And I think more and more now football fans are coming through, and there are less sort of hoity-toity, highbrow Oxbridge types coming through, and there are people who actually love the game. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to mirror the passion that people feel in the stands, that they pay a lot of money to go and see football, and they get excited, it's their life, and I think you can mirror that in your commentary.
He's in right against Chris Wood! Ian Wright! It's in! Ian Wright for Arsenal! Ian Wright's 4th goal in FA Cup finals! He joins the legendary Stan Mortensen on that mark! He's made his mark again! Right all alone!
What's the biggest gaffe you've ever made?
I was at West Ham again towards the end of the season. It was the last game, and they were playing Notts County. And at the same time, Sheffield Wednesday were up at Oldham. And if Sheffield Wednesday lost at Oldham, West Ham went up as champions. Didn't matter what happened in their game. And I've said live on the radio, Sheffield Wednesday have lost because it was given to me in my ear. Sheffield Wednesday have lost. I think this is a scenario, is what I can remember. So West Ham are up as champions. On they come, about 20,000 roaring because they've won the championship, all looking up and they're waving up to the press box. And then it came through score correction. Sheffield Wednesday had in fact won, so I had to say, oh, correction, Sheffield Wednesday have won. West Ham, you're still promoted, but you're not champions. And then the 20,000 just turned in front of me and they were making gestures that suggested that I was probably doing things in my bedroom privately that I shouldn't be doing.
How did you feel about that?
A bit embarrassing, but I think they've forgiven me for it now.
England are through! England are through! England are in the European Championship semi-finals, and Seaman has saved, and England have beaten Spain. It wasn't a romping, buccaneering, Drake-like victory over the Armada. We didn't singe the King of Spain's beard, but Salvador Dali, Pablo Picasso, Jose Carreras, Julio Iglesias, El Cordova, Don Quixote, your boys are out and England are through, and you can stick it up your Julio Iglesias, ask no questions, tell no lies. England are heading for the biggest prize.
A lot of people think, well, you go to a ground, you're set up perfectly, you've got monitors here and monitors there, you've got a perfect view. You don't have that. 9 times out of 10, I did a game at Peterborough once. Peterborough played Brentford, it was a real biggie, and it was the end of the season. We couldn't see half the pitch because there was a door in the way, and Bobby Moore had to stand in the open door, point which way. If it was pointing that way in the first half, I knew it was Brentford had possession, and he did, like, number 5's got the ball, so I knew who it was. Yeah, until number 11 got the ball, and then we couldn't quite work it out between us how to do number 11. But you don't get good positions. Sometimes the floodlights are poor. Sometimes you don't get the teams until 5 minutes before kick-off. It's difficult. It's more difficult than people think.
So, can you give me any tips on, what I need to do to be a good commentator?
You've got to be excited. you've got to realise that every game you're doing, even if it's 0-0 between two teams who you think are the most boring in the world, that game has a relevance to someone who's a supporter of that team. And you've got to speak to that person. You've got to be aware that you're talking to that person, focus on that person. You've got to be a massive football supporter, I think. You've got to love the game. And you've just got to go absolutely ballistic when people score a goal.
And Binksy collects the ball, and it was a superb pass, and there she goes off towards the goal line, and again a pass, and it misses, and there she goes, she strikes for a goal, and yes, it's in, it's in!
I want Chelsea out of Europe, I want Newcastle, you know, I can't help it. It's just I can't bring myself to support another English side.
We can't get our heads around being in Europe. We just,
I mean,
we just missed it. It's just not a thing I can get my head around. I don't really care.
I mean, Wimbledon have never played in Europe, have they?
It could be next season.
I'd love to get the chance to play in Europe, but yeah,
you were so close last year, weren't you?
It was so frustrating. I mean, it irritated me that we seemed to throw so many league games because players were saving themselves for the cups. And then we blew both the cups.
Yeah.
And there were so many points we dropped that we could have got and maybe got into the UEFA Cup.
Because I mean, that run you had at the start of the season was absolutely extraordinary,
7 wins
wasn't
on
it?
the trot.
Yeah. I mean, it was absolutely, but it must have been beyond your wildest dreams as a. With the highest you finished is 6th in the Premiership. Twice, isn't it? So you finished 6th twice, and you were 8th last year.
We qualified for Europe 3 times, finishing 6th twice and winning the FA Cup. And we haven't got any other times. So
that must be unbelievably frustrating.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you can't complain about the Hayes.
But I mean, before you start, I mean, I don't suppose you'd mind if it happened afterwards, but it would be great before you start playing Europe to actually have a ground to invite European teams to. Do you think that's on the cards for Wimbledon? I mean, you need an identity, don't you?
I wish I knew. It would be nice to actually know if there was anything on the cards. There's so little information about what the club might be doing or anybody else.
Why do you actually, I'm fair enough, you go there every week and whatever, but why do you need an actual ground? The ground you had at Plough Lane was absolutely diabolical. You're sharing with Palace, not a bad ground at all. What's wrong with that?
Would you like to share with Fulham?
Depending which way? Fulham sharing at ours or?
If you played at Craven Cottage with Fulham, what would you
At
think?
Craven Cottage with Fulham.
No, so I suppose, but we've got a good ground.
Yeah, you've got.
So we're talking about Plough Lane. Would you rather go to Plough Lane? Would you rather go to Selhurst Park?
But
Because it's our ground. I mean, if we had a ground the size of Loftus Road, that'd be fine. How's that? 20,000?
15, 16.
But why does Merton Council keep turning down applications for you could do Wimbledon Stadium where they do the stock car racing, whatever? Why?
It's the traffic. It's everything that's bad about football grounds. The traffic, the noise.
But it's just down the road from where you are.
I mean, Selhurst Park.
Yeah, but Plough Lane had what? We never had more than 15,000 in there. If we built a 40,000 stadium, we'd probably fill it quite often.
Yeah, when the big clubs come down.
Sorry, coming back to the Coca-Cola Cup first round, we've lost 2-0 at Wolves. We've got to go away there now. But Doncaster played Nottingham Forest. They lost 8-0. I mean, who's going to go to the return leg now? You know, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like,
Forest season ticket holders.
Yes, about 5,000 of them.
You get all the catering's paid for and everything. To me, it just seems a waste of money. And am I right in thinking that the second round is also
two legs? Yeah,
that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Knockout cup.
Yeah,
really should.
I mean, they've now made it that there's no replays and it will go to penalties the whole way through. Because I mean, that absolutely clobbered Middlesbrough last season, didn't it? Yeah. And all the replays. Wimbledon too. Did you have a lot of replays in the Fizzy Pop?
They played us in the FA Cup. It was quite an easy way through, so, so we just let them go through. So
yeah, you stood back gracefully, did you? On that
we
one?
scored, and they thought, well, let them go through, sort of things.
That was very kind of you.
Yeah. I think going back to what you were saying about with Newcastle. No, I don't know if I'm right in thinking this, but I'm sure if Newcastle lose against Zagreb, they go into the UEFA Cup.
They go into UEFA, yes.
So, which to me, how's that work?
That's what they're playing in.
You can play in the Champions League qualifying rounds. But if you lose, don't worry about it. We'll put you in the UEFA Cup. It's sort of a cup. A cup's a cup. You play in a cup, one game, you lose, you're out.
But I mean, the Champions League,
Rangers are doing the same thing.
Well, they would have been if they not got thrashed last night.
But the Champions League is no longer the Champions League, is it? It's the Champions League and those who finish second in the 8 countries that we think we want in the cup. More than anybody else.
And we'd like put a pin in here and there.
And it's a league for a few games, but then we think we'll make it a knockout competition. And it is, I think really the competitions here and in Europe need to be sorted out. And they were then talking about, they're now thinking of introducing another competition to be played in the summer as well. I mean, that will finish.
On top of the Intertoto.
Top of the Intertoto and
Cup, then another cup.
And then another. No, there's some top class competition that they're thinking about introducing? I mean, can the players, as you say, can the players do it? I don't see how they can at this level.
And people say, you always get older fans say, my father will say, oh, you know, I remember back in the 60s, players were playing 70 odd games a season, they did it every year in, year out. But the demands of modern football are completely different to what they were in the 60s.
No, but the squad's bigger though. Surely the squads are bigger.
It's because at the end of the day, players smoked in the 60s. Players drank in the 60s. Half of them weren't fit. They just had brilliant talent. You look at Jimmy Greaves, perfect example.
Nobby Stiles.
Nobby Stiles, another one. Constantly had a fag hanging off of his lip while giving interviews in the dressing room. That's not allowed now. These people are athletes, and the body cannot take. Well, yeah, they can't take that pounding. What you're going to do is you're going to shorten the life of a player's career.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with lots of people hobbling around on crutches, clubs being forced to pay out lots of damages to injured players, which is again going to mean more money coming from the fans, and it's also going to mean that international teams are going to really suffer because Hoddle's going to pick his 22 players and 17 of them will be injured.
I mean, if we had to play an international now, you know, Campbell's injured, we don't know how seriously, Shearer's out, Fowler's out. I mean, and we're a few games into the season. You know, and
we've got enough players in England, and we should be able to get past that.
I bet you still won't pick Chris Perry.
We haven't got enough world class.
I mean, why do you...
Well, that's the answer then. There's not enough world class players. We should have enough players there. I remember years ago, Ron Greenwood took over the England side. And he called upon saying like 112 players who was going to get in his call up. These are the players I want to consider. And we've still got that sort of like basis where you can call upon so many players, but whether they're world class or not, as you say, is a different.
Why do you think Wimbledon players don't get picked for England? I mean, it is a source of. I mean, I'm amazed that Perry hasn't been picked.
There's only 2 or 3 that are good enough to be honest.
Yeah.
We're going to get the occasional player.
Robbie Earle,
who's
now playing for Jamaica.
Robbie Earle would have been good enough 5 years ago.
Right.
He's not going to pick a 32-year-old play his first game in the World Cup qualifiers. Too old, unfortunately. Chris Perry should be England team.
He should certainly be in the squad.
I think he should be in the team, by
Yeah, he should be.
the rest, I don't know. Ben Thatcher probably will be in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But I can't see the rest of them getting in.
What about Ardley? No, you don't think he's good enough? I mean,
really.
Joe Kinnear rates him very highly, doesn't he?
He does.
He's inconsistent. I mean, he has been very good at times, but other times he's had bad games as well.
Okay, thanks very much. Really nice to have you all here. That's all we've got time for this week, but we'll be back next week for more studs.
Is there a job in football that could ever tempt you away from Everton now?
No, I think this is it. I think that I did say that Everton Football Club was possibly the only reason I would have left Sheffield United. I think that hopefully I'll last as long as I possibly can here, and that will be it.
When you look back, Howard, you've had a great career as a player and a manager. As you say, you've been involved in football for probably more years than you care to remember. Is there any bit that you say, well, whatever happens, no one can ever take that away from me?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think what is pleasing is I think you win your first trophy, for example. You know, you say, well, they can't take that away from you. You know, we won the cup in '84, and you know the history of Everton Football Club. The manager will be Howard Kendall when it's written when people write about that cup triumph.
Is there anything that you might say, well, that I could have lived without?
No, just the hassle of interviews and things like that.
You mean this isn't fun, Howard?
Is it heck? I could be out there with my tracksuit on and running about and enjoying myself.
You'd be sweating.
Oh, I sweat pretty often, yeah.
But let me ask you, is this a serious question? Because in your time of management these days, at a big club like Everton, you cannot step outside your office without someone shoving a microphone or a camera under your nose. Does it ever get wearing?
Yeah, I think the media now is more than it's ever been, really. I think there's more demands on your time. It does because I think sometimes you've got to split your day up to make sure that the important points are that you get your training gear on and you're out with the players. That's the most enjoyable part of the day, is working with the players, and I think you've got to make sure that happens.
Now, this media thing is a constant in your life. Do you think perhaps it gets to the point where if there isn't a story, they're going to make one, that they're going to chase Howard Kendall around or your counterpart, any Premiership club, until they find something?
Well, I think that you expect that, really. I mean, I think that when you look at especially the Sunday newspapers, they're linking you with all kinds of players. I mean, a lot of it is down to agents now because they're looking to sell their players or to make it known that they've got players who are available. But I mean, I call them Sunday space fillers, really, because most of them are a nonsense.
But it's a high-pressure job, Howard, so when the training session's over and it gets to whatever time tonight and it's time to go home, how does Howard Kendall relax, get away from this?
I shall watch a football match on the television.
Is that relaxation, seriously?
It most certainly is, yeah, because you're not in the dugout and it's not your side out there having to win. I mean, you still got to do your homework and you still got to be in tune with what's happening in football wherever it may be played, you know. So it's either Eurosport, Sky Sports, BBC, ITV. I think there was 5 live games last night on the television. You'll be watching videos and watching players. That's relaxing.
What about the idea, I'll just chuck this one into the ring, of turning the TV off and perhaps going for a curry?
No, not at all. Not at all. If you said a Chinese, well, maybe.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
Spencer, what are you doing?
Mr. Vincenzi, I'm polishing one of your Oscars, sir, that you won. Do you remember this? It's against the Arsenal. You had 12 rollovers, sir. It's very heavy. It's solid gold.
I remember this.
Yes, I'm just keeping all your trophies, sir, in perfect order. And by the way, sir, may I say respectfully, thank you for asking the manager, sir, Crystal Palace, to get me into your contract as the butler.
That's all right.
I appreciate that, sir.
Not a problem.
Pleasure, sir.
We have a lot of people come for dinner tonight.
Yes, sir. How many are you, sir, tonight?
I don't know. Mr. Julieta.
Really?
Mr. Zoeala.
Yes.
Both from Chelsea.
Right.
Mr. Lamborghini from Crystal Palace.
Oh, yes,
He
sir.
look like me.
Really? Very good, sir. And the
But
finest champagne?
don't spoil them too much.
No, the finest champagne as usual, sir?
Yes.
And the very best cigars?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yes. Would you like me to take them home in the rolls, sir?
Yes, if you would like.
Very good, sir. It's a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure, sir.
Hey, Rudy, wait for the Spencer. Spencer, do this.
Yes, sir.
That's why I have the
Pleasure, sir.
That's why it was important for me, boss.
And I'm a Chelsea supporter, sir.
Very nice, man. Boss, you play me tomorrow. I'll be playing tomorrow. I score plenty goal. Thank you, Spencer.
Pleasure, sir.
You're a nice butler, very nice. You're gonna get one of these, boss. I don't need a butler, I need the hairdresser. You need the butler. Carry on, boss, carry on.
The Jones resident. Good morning, sir. Spencer, the butler speaking. May I help you? Oh, the head butler, sir. He's not here at the moment.
Who is it, Spencer?
The Vatican, sir.
No, I don't. I cannot speak to the Vatican. I have no time. Now just go on, you
Excuse me,
speak
sir.
to him.
Mr. Vinnie Jones is too busy to speak to you, sir, but he will try and phone you back. Thank you, sir.
Now, can you go and clean my other Oscar?
Another
I can't
one,
hear-
sir.
Yes, I have.
Very good,
another.
sir.
It's Cheltenham week, and Boise's taken time off work to study form. He's been following the horse Barton Bank all year, and that's his tip for the Gold Cup.
What price is that, please?
Becky and Billy, meanwhile, are harbouring thoughts of warmer climes. They've gone to town to book a summer holiday, their annual trip to Benidorm.
Last experience in Ibiza. Benidorm it is. Let's see what we can get for Benidorm.
Come on, Martin, baby.
Second in green, out wide the noseband, the favourite last row today.
Tired now. Oh,
yes.
Sit down me now, isn't it? That's the gamble, lads. That's the gamble.
£199 plus your under occupancy settlement.
We'll get that booked for you. How are you paying for it?
Cash.
Right, let me see the colour of your money and we'll get it done
Oh,
for
now
you.
this is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking.
What I'll do first of all is go and get your receipt and then we can
Yeah.
take payment. I can jot everything down that you give me.
Tell them offs.
Okay, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to get your receipt and all the paperwork involved to book it. Won't be a sec.
The pain. The pain.
His sexual preference has got nothing to do with you. When he plays with himself or he plays with you, go over there and shut up. Oh no, his bottle went. Bottle went, boysy. Yeah. So come you got the score sheet this year? No, sir, man with me. Walk backwards.
Pete, I'm taking you off, love. Sorry, mate, but, you know, I've got to give him a one. I thought you'd have actually scored there. In the end, Perm gone out and thought I'd scored.
Hard luck, young man, hard luck.
Come on! What are you doing? You just get swapped!
Well, that's it for tonight. Join me and the team next week for another good crack.